Sourdough especially it is magic every time. Like, it's literally just flour, water, and salt. Flour, water, and salt. It shouldn't be delicious. It shouldn't work. Of course it should work, like, scientifically, of course it works. Obviously it works, but it doesn't feel like it should work. And it's magic.
Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppin'. I'm your host, Dan Hoppin', and there is a bakery just outside of Omaha that honestly feels like a mini vacation every time I visit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would come just for the baked goods. I mean, you can see we've got this bread sitting right in front of us, but like, there's just this feeling that I get when I visit Fariner Bakery that, like, even if I were in a hurry, like, it would just, like, speak to me and be like, "Sit down, slow down, turn your phone off, have a conversation with someone, and enjoy a really nice pastry at the same time." And I want to talk to the person who is in charge of that place, Damie Elder-Hiscock. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here.
Okay, I want to roll out the red carpet for you right from the beginning. If somebody's hearing about Fariner Bakery for the first time, how do you describe it to them?
Well, with the name and some of, what we offer, a lot of people, they're like, so this is a French bakery. And yes, we always say it's French inspired. We aren't just a straight line French bakery. We do use a lot of French techniques, but we are a Midwest French inspired bakery. And we like to very much be a home away from home for people. So it's a great place to come, if you want to grab a coffee, if you're coming to grab a pastry. It's just a friendly space. We also have lots of events, lots of places, lots of times to just come and really settle in. So yeah, yeah, great food, great times.
I was listening to another podcast that you were on about a year ago, and you said the bakery is always the heart of a town.
Mhm.
Ashland, where Farine is located, did not have a bakery before Farine opened in December of 2021. What has Farine come to mean to the
Hmm.
Ashland community?
Yeah, I think when we first opened, it was really interesting. There was a lot of excitement about there being a bakery opening in town. But then once we actually opened our doors, I feel like it took a little bit of time to settle in. There were a lot of locals who came in and they were disappointed we didn't have donuts. We've never had donuts on the menu, which is unusual for a Midwest bakery. Um, but
Is
they
that
saw.
just because you don't want to put a fryer in?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
Mhm.
want to interrupt,
No,
but
no, no.
I was just
Yeah,
curious.
exactly. Yeah, there's a real reason for it. We're not against donuts. We love donuts.
Donuts are great,
But
but that's not what Farine is about.
yeah, yeah. No, we don't have the space for a fryer in our kitchen. Our main kitchen is very tiny, and that's the only kitchen we had until just a couple weeks ago. Um, but yeah, they came in and they saw some of the more obscure pastries and were a little spooked. Um, and so we had a lot of people coming in from out of town. But Ashland natives, it took a little while, I feel like, to like really be like, no, no, we want you guys. We want Ashland. We're here for everyone here. And so we love the people who come in. Obviously, they're wonderful. But now it's so fun because Jared, my husband, who co-owns the bakery with me, Jared and I will talk frequently about how fun it is to see when we look down the line of people who come come to the bakery, which that in and of itself is just magical every time. Like they keep coming and I love it. But we'll have, people who drove up in their Teslas and they're carrying their Gucci bags. And then next in line is a farmer coming in straight off the field with his muddy boots, coming in for a coffee and a cinnamon roll. And I like to think that they all feel just as at home there. We really do mean it. We love everyone. We love all of our people who come in. And it's part of what makes the community is, everyone. It's not one-sided.
Okay, so Ashland was hesitant at first, didn't take to the concept immediately. What do you think was it that got them over that bar to see that, okay, maybe this isn't just going to be the corner stop for donuts, but this place is really special?
Yeah. I think, first and foremost, just keeping the quality and having great pastry. Word gets around that it tastes great. It's good stuff. But also just, my husband and I, when the bakery first opened, we were actually in Lincoln. We moved to Ashland for the bakery. I was there, and at the time Jared was commuting up to Omaha. And so it made sense for us to move north. Um we have 3 kids in school, and the Ashland schools are great, and so it made sense to move to Ashland. We live just a block and a half around from the bakery, so, it's both a blessing and a curse being so close. But
They're
mostly
always accessible.
oh, yes, yes. Mostly we love it. Honestly, it's as close as we could get to, like, the European model of, like, living right above the shop and popping down as the shopkeeper. It's wonderful. We love it. But I think the community seeing that we were all in, like there was no holds barred. We were there. Um, yeah, we love Ashland. Like we're not going anywhere. Yeah, we love the town. And we love that they've welcomed us in as well.
Why do you love Ashland? What's great about that place?
There is something about small towns that just have your heart. Um, I love knowing our neighbors and like we know our mailman who comes in and delivers the mail every day. We know our UPS drivers. We know the bankers. We know, the wrestling coaches that, teach our boys at school and they come in. Sometimes they bring their classes in. It's so fun. My sister, when we first moved to Ashland, she always teased me about how it sounded like we had moved to Busy Town, like Richards Carey's Busy Town, because everyone is a specific person in town and you know them all. Everyone knows them all, and it really is real. And now I feel so honored that I'm the baker. I get to be the baker. And there's something so special about that, and that my kids get to grow up in that.
What is it about Farine itself that you feel like creates community? Like the feeling that I talked about at this top of the show, where it's like,
Hmm.
I don't want to just grab pastries and go. I want to sit down and stay here. And I want to, whether it's have a chat with someone or work remotely, like third space is such a buzzword right
Yeah.
now, but Farine feels like such a cozy third space. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. I think there's lots of pieces that go into it. Um, I mean, first off, right off the bat, when you walk in, we have that one big table. I think it's one of the things that made people uncomfortable at first. Sitting next to someone that you don't know is uncomfortable. Um, but the number of people that now we've talked to that they have met people that they're still friends with now because they sat down at the table with them. And you don't necessarily, it's not like you have to sit with another group or something, but it does encourage that community feel. But Jared, my husband, he runs front of house and the beverage program. And so I mean, we both have a huge heart for just hosting and community and we love that. We always have. And so this has let us do that in a larger capacity. But Jared especially, Jared's an extreme extrovert. And so I'm not so much. Um but he loves like really bringing people in and making them experience something special. And so it's not just someone coming up to the counter and ordering a great cinnamon roll. Like it's, asking them, oh, do you want some extra frosting on that? Oh my goodness, let me get you this middle one from the pan. Is it your first time in? Chatting about, oh my goodness, are you out at Kimberly Creek? That's so fun out there. What brings you in? Where are you from? It's a special birthday, grabbing a candle from back of house so that they can have, something special here when they're here. Just like making that little extra connection. It's, I think, not only makes it something special for the person coming in, but it's part of what makes it special for us to do day in and day out. It's I think there's a lot of people who they see working in a bakery. It's very romanticized, the idea of working in a bakery. And there are definitely days like that. I'm all for romanticizing your life. Really, that's what it's all about. But doing, I mean, it's hard work. It is hard physical work. We're on our feet all day long. Jared and I frequently run 18-hour days. I mean, 7 days a week usually. And it's grinding and you're doing so much of the same stuff every single day. And so to keep that quality, that top tier level for every single roll that goes out, every single croissant that goes out, it's special for that person who gets it in front of them. That's the one they're seeing. That's the experience they're getting. And keeping that in your mind, it makes it all worth it.
People, if you didn't just listen to that and understand how much this person cares about everything that goes out, like this is the type of person I want to be buying a cinnamon roll from. And you do have my favorite cinnamon roll.
They're pretty good.
This is all very timely because just an hour ago I saw you guys put up a post. You had a POV and said it's 4 a.m. and you're working and you are showing the cinnamon rolls being cut. You're showing stuff going into the oven. And I think that is the thing that people don't understand is a baker's day starts so early, and people love to complain that, oh, why my local bakery it closes at 2 in the afternoon or 3. I'm sure you've heard this
Oh,
more
yeah.
than enough times,
Mhm.
but you guys don't want to. You don't want to work 18-hour days. You're not capable of working 18-hour days all the time. Like humans will run, our batteries will run out if we
Yeah.
do that. So anyway. One way that you can keep energized though is by changing that menu.
Mhm.
So you're always going to have your staples. You're going to have croissants, you're going to have cinnamon rolls, you're going to have sourdough,
Mhm.
but a lot of your menu changes every month. So
Yeah.
you are getting the chance to be creative and then switch things up a little bit.
Mhm.
How does that new menu come to life each month? What does that process look like?
Sometimes it's pretty last minute. As you experience, I'm always a little bit behind the ball. Um, but we try to stay pretty seasonal. Like what is in everyone's minds? What's the produce that's available? We like to use as much local as we can, which sometimes is possible, sometimes it's not. But we do like to be very seasonal or even just like what event or holidays happening this month. And we kind of build it around that. There are certain things that we always have to hit. Um, and just like, we like to have several savory options. And one of those savory options is vegetarian every month. Both Jared and I grew up vegetarian, and our oldest son's vegetarian. And I know how frustrating it can be walking into a restaurant and not having an option. And so we do always try to have a vegetarian option. We try to make sure to have several gluten-free options. A minimum, we'll have 3 gluten-free options on the menu at any one time. Um, I also have to think about like the balance of egg yolks to egg whites. Some months they've been off balance and then one of them just gets out of control in the fridge and then we have to think of something to use them up. Otherwise it's waste. There's so much that goes into it, but really it's one of the funnest parts. Is just like what do we want to make? What do we want to put out there? Like we got to have the case look really pretty and really colorful and really exciting for when somebody walks in. And some people like those more like bready things, like croissants or cream buns or things like that. And then other people they want those creamier options like a cream tart. And so to have something that is going to hit for everyone, it's fun to cobble it all together.
Where do you and your team draw inspiration from?
Um well, I mean, we're always just kind of watching like what is in the ether, what's exciting people right now. Um, we look at a lot of blogs, a lot of Instagrams, a lot of, what are people posting on Facebook? Jared and I, when we travel, we laugh because our travel these days is essentially we go somewhere and we visit bars, bakeries, and restaurants. Like that's it. That's what we hit. And so it's so much fun to see what they're doing in other areas of the country. And also how they're doing it. Like, what is their layout like? What is their service like? And then bringing little pieces of that back. Um, but yeah, it's, you watch what people are doing. You get ideas for like a new shape of croissant or a new flavor combination. And I think the key really is finding the inspiration and then twisting it to something you want to do. You know, coming
Well,
up with something new.
what's an example
Um,
of that on the menu right
mhm.
now?
Right now,
Yeah.
let's see. So we have okay. So the bakery is really like the backbone, all of the baked goods that we put out. But we do have a kind of killer coffee program as well. And and so one of the things that's actually been really popular this month, it's cracked me up. It's really cute. Is with summer, so I'll give you kind of the thought process behind this. So it's the middle of summer. We're kind of in the last throes before kids start to go back to school. Everyone's squeezing in the last camping trips. And so s'mores is a big thing. You love s'mores.
Mhm.
And we've done lots of different iterations of s'mores before. We've had like torch tarts and cream buns, we've had cakes, and this month we brought it into the coffee program. So we have both iced and hot beverage. That's our s'mores latte. And for the iced one, I'm always more of a hot coffee person myself. But for the iced one it's just a classic iced mocha. But then we top it with marshmallow cold foam and then a little Teddy Graham on the top. And for the hot one, we have house made huge cube cut marshmallows.
Nice.
And we do a mocha and then we drop the marshmallow straight in. So it kind of starts to melt in there. And then we throw a Teddy Graham on top as well. And that's just, it's like all the little extras. I think with having the bakery there, it lets us kind of stretch the coffee, stretch the cocktails because we have a full-fledged bakery kitchen. We can do some kind of weird stuff, like the giant marshmallows. I mean, we've done marshmallows of all types. It's kind of fun.
Another thing that kind of sets Fariner apart, and I absolutely love that you guys do this, and unfortunately I haven't been able to attend any of these events yet, but I want to, is
Uh-huh.
you guys, you put on wine dinners.
Yeah.
You host pizza nights. Like, we talk about most bakeries close early in the afternoon. You guys have chosen to add on events that go into the evening.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind adding those?
Yeah. So, we've never had standard bakery hours. We used to close at 5. We stretched it out a couple of years ago to 6. So that people could grab a loaf of sourdough on their way home. They could come shop the market, get some pasta. I used to work an office job and it was so frustrating when places they all closed at 5. And so we stay open till 6, which sometimes it can be a huge challenge because most of the pastry sells early. People come in for that pastry early. So we do try to keep things stocked as much as possible, but some days it's a losing battle. It's just we do what we can do. But there's always going to be some things available. The market's still there. The wine's still there. There's always something to come and grab. So it still makes it worthwhile. But yeah, then we have these other events that push it farther into the evening. We opened up apero hour. So we have cocktails. We are open on Friday and Saturday until 8 p.m. And pizza night is every third Friday of the month. We do our long process sourdough pizza crusts. We have 3 types of pizza any pizza night. We usually have Caesar salad as well. And 10% of the earnings across the board. So whether it's cocktails, beer, wine, whatever, pizzas, of course, 10% of whatever we bring in during the pizza nights, so starting at 6 p.m., goes to some local cause. We always keep it local. So sometimes it's gone to like the kids' closet, which helps, people who need a little extra food, clothes. Kids grow out of things so fast. Um, we've given it to some of the public school teams that need a little extra money for, supplies or travel or whatever it might be. And that's been, I think, really fun for the community to have a way to like, it's a fun night out, but also it affects their own kids too. It's an easy way to give back. Um, but the real big reason why we're open such broad hours, which is a challenge, um, but Jared, he's an opera singer as well. So he teaches at UNL and he has his doctorate in vocal performance. And he used to, pre-COVID, he used to travel quite a bit. And so he's spent many summers in Europe, and he loved the cafe culture there and how you could go into a cafe and it's this family there. It's maybe, the grandpa serving you who's been serving there since he was a kid. And you could get your coffee there. You could get a pastry in the morning. You could hang around. You could read a newspaper. They're open all day long. You come back for dinner. You come back for a drink before bed. It's not like American style morning bakery. It's a community center that everyone comes by. Like, it's a touch point for everyone. Um, and that was really what we wanted to do. Like, why keep it just a bakery when we have this wonderful space to share? Like, let's make it so that people could use that space for, all day long, bring their families after work. And so the events we love the events. They're some of our favorite things. But I mean, just the hours themselves, they span a huge range so that you can come after work. You could get a glass of rosé and sit out on the patio under the wisteria. We have our cozy chairs now around the perimeter, and you could sit there with a girlfriend and catch up. It's not just for running in and grabbing your coffee. We're not a fast food place. It's not what we're, trying to do. So yeah, it was, I think, just all part of that community aspect of it. We want to
Mhm.
bring people in. So
So, to be clear, if somebody does want to come in and just grab a coffee and a pastry and get out
yeah.
of there, they can,
Oh yes.
but you are going to have to fight against the gravitational pull that just says, no, stay here and hang out a little bit because
Yeah.
there is definitely that feeling. Okay, I want to get into your background a little bit
Sure.
because what I know is fascinating and I want to learn even more. It was actually your hatred of laundry that started your journey to the kitchen. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did you get started baking?
Well, I actually cooked mostly growing up.
Cooking.
My
Sorry.
sister, she was the one who would always like make a batch of cookies or a cake, which was always, oh my goodness, it would throw the house into chaos because they always fell. I'm sorry, Kristen, but it's true. Um, no, I've always been in the kitchen. My mom is Mexican, and so it's just me and my sister. And so we were raised by a Mexican mom. We're both girls, and there are just kind of cultural norms. And so part of that is just always like, feeding people. Feeding people is a way of taking care of people. And so we had chores, we had to help around the house, and I hated laundry, which is what you're referring to. So my sister took on the laundry. That was her chore. And so I cooked and I did the dishes every day. And so I never really I never like, people always ask, like, "Oh my goodness, isn't it so exciting to have your own bakery now? Like, you've wanted this for so long." I kind of fell into this. I feel kind of bad about it because there are so many people who do want to do it. And I love it now, and I would never want to do anything else. But honestly, I kind of fell into it. I never like wanted to open my own place. I liked to cook for friends. I liked to bake for friends. I did my first wedding cake in college for some friends who asked me if I'd be willing to do it. Um, but it was very much just taking care of the people in my sphere. Um, but I'm self-taught because of that. I never wanted to go and open a bakery. I never thought to go to culinary school. It wasn't really something that I was aiming for. I went to college for music performance. I was a pianist. It's how my husband and I met. And yeah, and it was just kind of a random thing that I fell into. But people always ask, well, how did you learn how to do these things, these things in the kitchen? And I think that is just partly because, I think it's partly personality and also as homeschooled for a stretch from fourth through 10th grade. And I think there's a certain brand of homeschooling that it's really good at teaching you how to learn what you want to learn, like how to do your own research. And so I like figuring things out. Um, I think I I've always described myself as kind of a bean counter in an artist world. I'm not like my sister's an artist, my mom's an artist, my husband's an artist. Like they're all these very artsy people, and I always wished I was. And I never like I was always I was good at organizing things. I was good at making things happen and like but I was not the artist. I was never the artist of the group. And so yeah, I just it's not how my brain worked. But then baking, I think it's one of the fun things about baking I've kind of realized is that it is so scientific in a way. It's like you're doing science experiments every day. Um, but with that very artistic slant to it. And so, like, growing up around artists and living with an artist, um, I have developed a good eye for things, but really, I'm still very much the chemist, you know? And so I can function in that way, but kind of bring that other side in as well, which is so fun. I really enjoy that. Um, yeah, and I enjoy turning out something physical for people to see, which I think was the same thing with piano, honestly. I think it's why I enjoyed piano for so long is because I was able to work so hard on something in a very prescribed manner and then turn out something for people to enjoy. So,
I think that's kind of the beauty of your backgrounds and skill set is that I think like chefs are more like artists
mhm.
because yes, you're constantly using creativity and implementing different ingredients and you are changing things on the fly. If you're going to be a baker, you have to have that organized chemist side to it
Yeah.
because it is a science.
Mhm.
Yes, I think people like they see beautiful wedding cakes
Yeah.
or incredible decorated desserts and they think yes these people are artists, bakers are
Yeah.
artists, and to some extent
Sure.
yes, but if you don't start with the technical side of
Mhm.
it and you don't get your measurements, your baking times, everything, which is constantly changing based off the
Mhm.
weather and the climate and everything,
Right.
if you don't get all that stuff exact first, it doesn't matter how pretty it looks at
Yeah.
the end because it's not going to taste good, it won't have the right texture. So I love that you have that like technical chemist side to you naturally,
Mhm.
and then you've been surrounded by people who are kind of that that more creative artistic side, and they can speak into that, and they've also just kind of by being around them you've absorbed a little bit of that too and you bring the
Yeah.
best of both worlds into it. uh okay, so baking and cooking have been a love, they've been a
Mhm.
hobby. You're not professionally trained,
No.
and when Farine opened you were actually working at a hospital
Yes.
in Lincoln. How did this bakery over in Ashland even like pop on your radar?
Yeah. Yeah, so my husband and I, we did not open Fariner.
No.
We bought Fariner a while back now. It's been over 2 years, and we're coming up on being open. Well, we're about 4.5 years now. Um, but I came on yeah, okay, so let me back up.
Let's back up.
I was working at St. Elizabeth's. I ran the credentialing and privileging department there. And, I loved it for a very long time. It really fed that, like, bean counter side of me. I loved it. There's so many forms and getting all the signatures and checking the boxes. It was really fun. Um, but when COVID hit, my job changed quite a bit. It took away most of the personal contact that I had with all of my doctors and mid-levels, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed seeing them all and seeing where they were in the process and what help they needed with it. And it all turned to just I was sitting in front of the computer all day long. All of my files went from physical files to digital files, which is really good in the long term for the hospital. It needed to happen. It was a little behind the times when I started. And so that was great to be able to switch it to fully digital, but it no longer fed me personally. And so I was dying. It was a stressful time anyways. Our kids, Jared was at home. He was working remotely, trying to help our older boys. They were in what? I think they were like first and third grade or something at that point. And they were on screens trying to do remote school, and Jared was trying to manage that. They were all at dining room table. I was still considered necessary at the hospital, so I was going in and working with an N95 on every day at the hospital on the computer, and it was so stressful, and I never saw them, and I needed to do something else. I needed to do something for fun. I didn't plan to leave the hospital at that point. I just needed to do something enjoyable. And so I saw that this bakery was going to be opening in Ashland. And Jared and we had been to Salt Creek Mercantile before, which is the owner who had opened the bakery. And really enjoyed her shop there. And I saw that she was opening a bakery and was looking for bakers. And it took me a while to send in an email because I don't have any training. And I was like, this is silly. There's no way she would even consider looking at my information. Like, this is just ridiculous. And finally, I was just so at my end of my rope. And so I sent her my resume, which I hardly had any. I had been very loosely cottage baking for probably about 10 years. I would take special orders for weddings and birthdays, mostly macarons and specialty cakes out of my home for a while, which had all stopped with COVID. And that was essentially my resume. I really didn't have much to show her other than, my Instagram feed, what I had been baking just personally. And so she ended up calling me in, which I was shocked. So I drove out to Ashland. I didn't even really know how far it was. And I met her and we chatted, and she asked me to come on as a prep baker. And so I was really excited, but also scared. I'd worked in school cafeterias before, but I had never worked in a true like commercial kitchen. Like a bakery kitchen like that. And so, when I came on, our head baker at the time, it was so great to have her because she walked me through so many of the, like, this is how we wash dishes in a commercial setting. Like, I didn't know, how much bleach do I put in the sink? I don't know. How do we label things in the fridge? Like, just all of those funny little things that are so standard in a commercial setting and so necessary with the higher volume that you just don't necessarily like. And not that you don't wash your obviously, that sounds terrible. But no, it's not the same setup
Right.
at home.
Because you're not doing it at scale.
Yeah, no. And so that was awesome to kind of get that experience. And I came in, I started with the test baking before we even opened our doors. And then they scheduled me to be the weekend morning baker. So I was going to be doing the Saturday, Sunday morning bakes. So I was at the hospital, and the hours were pretty insane.
We're
And
talking 60-plus-hour weeks.
yeah, yeah. And then I would wake up at 3 to commute in to come morning bake for Saturday, Sunday, and then usually I'd get home by around 6 or 7 in the evening to tuck the kids in. And it was so fun. It was so fun. It was exhausting, and my poor husband, oh my goodness, I don't know how he survived that, honestly. And just that he was like, "Yes, go do it." That was I don't know if I would've. Um, but it was just so great. It felt like playing the whole time I was there, and it gave me so much relief to be able to go back to the hospital on Monday after having had that weekend. It was great. And then we lost our head baker about a month after we opened. There it was not an easy first few months at the bakery. Just staffing and I think we all expected the bakery to open as a small town around the corner bakery, and it was never that. We had lines. We sold out in a couple hours. There was nothing else to put out. It was we were scr we were just scrambling. It was challenging. And, so we lost our head baker. Jared happened to land a job that had benefits for our family, which was the big reason why I had never looked for anything else. We just weren't in that place to be able to do that. And so when he got that job, we decided like I'm I'm going to leave the hospital. I'm going to leave, and it took months to actually leave because of COVID, and we're heading into a big accreditation, and as one of the offices that meets with the accrediting party. Um and I was working both jobs for a long time, like easing back on the hospital hours and raising the bakery hours, and it was and then we were selling our house and moving to Ashland to it was nuts. Um but yeah, we ended up we I left the hospital. I took a 50% pay cut. We moved to Ashland, and all the boys changed schools. And for a while there, like, childcare is really tight in Ashland, and our youngest was still in daycare. And it took several months to find a spot for him in Ashland. And so when we moved, Jared, he was, we moved, and the very next day, he flew out to Turkey for the summer. He was a faculty member for an opera program out there. And our youngest was 3, and I would wake him up to bring him with me to morning bake down the road with his blanket, and I'd set him up, and then I would commute him into Lincoln to his daycare and drop him off and come back to the bakery, and then work the full day and then run out to go pick him up from Lincoln and bring him back, and then do it all again the next day. And it was stressful. It was not all wonderful, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And we it was just to be able to like some of my Instagram posts from around that time. I just It was so magical to spend my days just making stuff that people walked in the door to come enjoy. I it was just the most amazing change in our lives, and, like, as long as the hours are, like, they're crazy, but we're a block and a half around the corner from where we live. And, like, I would when we finally did find a spot for our youngest in Ashland, I would walk him to daycare, and then I'd walk back, and then I'd go to the bakery, and the big boys, they would come down and have breakfast at the bakery. They'd walk around the corner. We have a super active library with tons of, like, kid programs, and they have special events. They'd go down to the library, which is around the corner from the bakery, and they'd go spend a couple hours down there. And then they'd come back, check in, they'd go back home, I'd swing home for lunch. Like, we see each other constantly, which again is a blessing and a curse. But, like, where before, like, we had a more settled home, and I was making more money, and it was more of the life that you're supposed to have. Um, but, like, the boys, they were in before school care, and then they would be in school, and then they'd be in after school care, and then I would grab them, and we might have to swing by for like a grocery pickup on the way home. We'd get home and we'd like be scrambling to have dinner and get to bed. And Jared and I are usually missing each other between our jobs. And we just like, why are we working so hard to live a life that we're not living? Like, we're not even together to do anything. Whereas now, like, yeah, we're working hard, but we get to have meals together. We get to hang out together. Well, I live so close to home that if there's a pocket in the day, I could run home and jump in the stock tank pool with the kids. Their schools are so close that they usually walk to and from school. And our oldest, he works at the bakery. He just picked up a shift for this Saturday, which is syrup days. Syrup days is crazy, and he's going to be out there in front of house. It's like we have a life together now, and that's the biggest thing the bakery's given me.
That was like I almost don't even want to ask any more questions. That was just so beautiful and incredible. But I do okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I do want to ask more questions because I'm gonna ask you to do something that might be like semi impossible because describing feelings with words is always a challenge, and it requires someone who's very good at linguistics to do. But I mean, what you are describing, starting with when you still have your job. I mean, you are working insane hours and then going in at insane hours, and you're not seeing your family, and then you're making a decision to take a huge pay cut and leave a stable job, even if it's one that's very stressful, a stable job. You are moving your family for this opportunity, but you said it was just so fun and you just loved it. So try and take me inside your mindset as you're starting this job, even when it was still just part time before you became the head baker. What made it so fun? What were you as you're in there at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, whatever it is, what are you thinking and what are you feeling that made you say, my life is insane right now, but I want to chase the insanity?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think there's a few things.
Okay, go.
I think one of the things is that it's so easy to get caught up in big picture, like everything that's happening everywhere in your family's life, in the world, and not that all of that stuff isn't important. It is. But on a day-to-day basis, like there's not a whole lot that you can do about all of that. Like maybe there's things that you can do about some things, sure. But like as I think especially during COVID, it became such a everyone was so weighed down by everything that was going on. And what there's nothing you can do. And at the bakery, it's like you're just working your little job. And we're just serving pastry. Like it's there's sometimes the I have my bakers, they like maybe they're wonderful. I have a wonderful team. And but we all make mistakes. Things happen. And I mean the gut-wrenching feeling of like ruining a batch of something because you made some stupid mistake. You weren't paying attention. We've all had it happen. And oh, they're just so bowed down. And yes, there's lost product and there's lost wages and there's things that go into it. But it's just pastry. It is just pastry. It's okay. Like we're serving people pastry. It's all right. Like nobody died. And I think that was a part of it, just the weight off the work. Before the work I was doing, somebody could have died. Like, um, but also I think, um, I I really and I mentioned it before, like I found in all the jobs I've had, I really feed off doing something with my hands to turn out something for people to enjoy and seeing their faces, seeing the delight on their faces, creating something out of nothing to delight someone is so enjoyable. And my previous job had none of that. There's no delight on anybody's face. They saw me coming for signatures and they're like, hide, hide. But it's there's something so magical about, I mean, just on so many levels. I mean, I teach sourdough classes at the bakery, which are one of my favorite things to do. I love teaching the classes. And I tell my they probably get tired of me saying it, but it's sourdough especially. I mean, all of baking across the board, but sourdough especially it is magic every time. Like it's literally just flour, water, and salt. Flour, water, and salt. It shouldn't be delicious. It shouldn't work. And of course it should work, like, scientifically, of course it works, obviously it works, but it doesn't feel like it should work, and it's magic every time. You know, you combine things in the right way, and not only does it turn out something delicious, but beautiful. Like, you eat with more than your mouth, you know? You eat with your eyes and your nose and the experience of, like, waiting in line and getting served and sitting down at the pretty ta all of it goes into it. And seeing the people come in for that, and seeing the people respond to what we're offering is wonderful. It's so fun. It's so fun.
I can see it on your face. I mean, the way that you just lit up as you were describing everything, that's why you do it right there, because it's what you were created to do. And you found that calling now, and that's an incredible feeling. So you take over as the head baker. We're going to fast forward a couple years. Sorry, we could dive into every piece of this story, and I would love to do that, but we're a little crunch for time.
All good, all good.
April of 2024, you bought the bakery.
Yeah.
How did that opportunity arise, and what made you say, okay, we've taken several leaps
Mhm.
to get to this point. This is the big leap.
Yeah.
We're going to take it.
Yeah. We were earlier that year, we were kind of in a place where, you know, we had been in Ashland for a while by that point. The kids were settled in their schools. Um, and Jared was at that point, he wasn't at the bakery. He was working university jobs. And he hadn't yet landed a tenure track faculty position. He had had different contracts and he was coming to the close of contract, the end of that school year. So it was like the faculty year is, especially when you're searching for that tenure track job, it's brutal. And we've been through it many times when we were in Lincoln. And he went chasing when he was finishing his master's program, but then it didn't happen. He got into the doctoral program. And any point along that way, there's, especially in such a niche field, like there are only so many jobs out there. And so if you really want that job, you have to be willing to move anywhere. You have to move anywhere in the world where you find that job, which up until that point in 24, we were all in and we were, yeah, of course. Of course we'll move wherever. It doesn't matter. This was the first time where we ever hit that point and we were like, okay, it's time to start applying. Are we going to do it? Do we really want to do it? But staying didn't make any sense because at that point I was a hourly employee at a bakery. Jared's contract was ending. I mean, what were we going to do? It didn't make any sense to stay, but the idea of leaving Ashland just, ooh, I couldn't stomach it. I really couldn't. Like pulling the boys out of their schools, which again was never a concern before. It didn't bother me. I moved around a ton when I was a kid, and it's I don't know. It really wasn't an issue before. But at this point we questioned if that was really where we wanted to go. And Jared really he's really the one who wrestled with this a lot more because he of course he invested so many years of his life into this career. Like this is where he was heading. And so the idea of at this point not pursuing that, like that was, that's his own story of working through that. But I knew that the bakery at that point, like I said, we've always been very busy, and it's the bakery's a monster. I mean, it's a beautiful monster that we all love, but I mean, we have about 30 people on our payroll because of that spread of hours and the morning bakers. And I mean, on our biggest days, we are only like the bakery is only actually empty for a couple hours in the before the morning baker comes in because those closers are still closing down from apparel hour or special events, and then the morning baker comes back in. And so it's this huge moving, like it's a crazy thing to manage. And the previous owner, I knew that when she first opened it, that hadn't been her vision. Like she wanted to open a small town bakery and then be pretty hands off. And she had never quite been able to do that. Like I was the back of house manager, we had a front of house manager, but still, like she was pulled in more than she wanted to be, and I knew it had been a strain on her. And so, I approached her to ask if they would ever be open to the idea of selling. I said I had no idea what that looks like. Like I didn't know, even what kind of number we are looking at. I had no idea whether this was even possible. And and so we talked about it and kind of started to get a picture together of what it would look like over the next several months. It took about 6 months for it all to happen from the time I approached her to the time we actually bought. Um, but yeah, Jared and I we bottomed out all of our retirement accounts for down payment on it. I mean, when I say we were all in, we were all in. Um, and we bought the bakery and Jared came on full time and we we lost almost our entire front of house team in the first month because culture changes. It's just things are, you have a new owner, things are a little different. It was rough. That first summer, it was rough. Um, I think there was a lot of questioning, like, did we do the right thing? The hours we were putting in, but then there were two girls, um, who they worked front of house, but they had only worked like one shift a week or something up until then. And when we lost everyone else, which they all walked out together, when we lost them. And we were really questioning, like, are we doing this right? Like, did we ask too much? Or, what are we doing wrong? And these two girls, they contacted me independently after we lost the others, and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to pick up some more shifts. Like, we we like what you're doing here. This is good. And they jumped in, and just the amount of like, just like that's exactly what we needed at that point. To know that we're on the right track. Like we're on the right track. And from there, that's when we started expanding our hours, expanding our offerings. We had done a couple wine dinners before. I think we did two, maybe three in the 2 years we were open before that. We started having them monthly, which now that wine bar is open, which is a whole nother thing that we haven't dived into, but we're actually pulling them back to quarterly because we are a little stretched thin. And there's so much to have out at wine bar too. So they're quarterly now, which is, I think, a really happy place to sit. I get to play with them, regularly, but monthly they just come up so fast. um, but Yeah, we expanded hours. We started the wine dinners. We started the pizza nights, which the pizza nights have just exploded. This last time we sold out in 20 minutes. I like there it's been a wild ride. It's none of it has been anything what I expected. There's so much of it of, you have this vision of what you want to do and what you want to provide, but then also listening to what the customer wants as well and having the balance of that. Like you can't be fully one or the other. You have to stay true to what you are while also giving the public what they need. It's and it's not it's a tricky balance to have. Um and so yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, there's been so much growth over the past couple of years, which has not all been easy. But has all been amazing. It's yeah, it's been a wild ride.
To put it mildly. Uh, yeah, I think it's so interesting you talking about that dichotomy between like the core of what you want versus what
Mhm.
the public demands or
Yeah.
what it needs. Like that's it's so funny. I've read this in so many books, but so many chefs end up putting a burger on their menu and they don't want to put a burger on the menu. They have this vision for like elevated French cuisine and or that they want to incorporate gastronomy in a different way and the public just wants a cheeseburger and to
Yeah.
keep the lights on and be able to do all the fun stuff that they want to, they got to sell a lot of burgers to make it
Mhm.
happen. Uh you talked about so many ways that Farinet's evolved in the
Mhm.
last couple of years since you guys took ownership. When you look to the future, what do you see?
Oh goodness. Holding tight for a while. I feel like we're just coming out of the murk of opening the wine bar and our offsite kitchen, which, the kitchen at the bakery is tiny. It is a tiny kitchen. They look back at it and there's a door at the back of it, which everyone thinks
There's
goes to like
more.
more storage space back there. There's a hallway that is mostly taken up with HVAC. That's it. Like what you see is what we got. And we have eked out every possible amount of space in that kitchen. Like the amount of times we've moved things around and kind of zhuzhed things and added storage pockets here and there. Um, but yeah, we finally got to the point where we're like there is no more.
Mhm.
There is
This is
no
it.
more space. Um, yeah, we used to have a range in there. The original owner had bought a really adorable little range for the corner of the kitchen, which we use a stove regularly for all kinds of fillings and frostings and stuff. Um, but we found very quickly like we don't need a range. We need more table space. Like there's almost no table space back there. And so we moved the range out. We added table space and we got little tabletop burners. But that does mean for our wine dinners, we're cooking on little tabletop burners. We don't have a range back there. We're a bakery kitchen, not a restaurant kitchen. And so the wine dinners are a very fun technical exercise. Um, but yeah, we are so cramped for space, and we were getting more and more requests for wholesale orders. Which up until recently we didn't take. We could not take them. Um, and but there were some requests that we would really like to take. There's partners that we would like to partner with. And so we found this space which is literally across our alley. It has Silver Street frontage, which is the main street there in Ashland. Um and we it kind of came out of the blue in the fall, which happened to perfectly align with the wine bar project as well. So we were doing them both at the same time, which was a literal nightmare. We would not have planned it that way. um And so I was telling Jared, I was like, Jared, I'm gonna wring someone's neck if your wine bar opens before my kitchen opens. And what do you know it did? But I did not wring anyone's neck. Um, but they're both open now. And I feel like oh my goodness, it's been very stressful, wonderful, stressful. And I feel like we're finally to that point where I'm able to start spending more time enjoying the kitchen again. It's been so much, buying the bakery, I knew that it would immediately load so much admin on me. And what I love is being in the kitchen. I enjoy some admin, but I want to be in the kitchen. And so the balance has always been a little tricky, but okay. But as soon as these projects were going, it was tough. And I feel like I've been so absent in the kitchen. And the time that I've spent there has just been like, just get through it because I have this list of, unending list of things to take care of. But now I feel like we're finally coming out of it. Wine bar's been open for 6 weeks or so. It's quite new. We've been in our offset kitchen about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And we started taking some wholesale orders in December. And so we were doing wholesale orders on top of our bakery stuff. So I was working swing shifts through the night to like pump out stuff because there's no space to even like, not only not space to just make it, but there's no space to put it until delivery goes out. It's been a wild winter. But yeah, now that we have our spaces open, we could actually enjoy them and start to get the flow of them. And I have 2 new bread bakers. I've never had dedicated bread bakers before. We've actually always kind of steered clear of it, mostly because we're all in the same space. So it's more helpful for everyone to kind of know a little bit of everything. But now we have separate spaces, and it's yeah, it's been wild but great. And I'm excited to take care of the stuff that needs to be taken care of, but also enjoy my bakery again.
The part of the beauty of this conversation to me is if we went back and counted the number of times that you said the word stressful, struggle, tough, wild, I think we could get a pretty good counter going. And yet you still love it.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that feeling that I think you did a great job describing of just the magic that you feel when you're in the kitchen. And you don't always get to be in the kitchen. Sometimes you got to do the admin stuff. But I think that's what makes Fariner such a special place is that you can feel that and you can taste that even if I don't know your story, even if I don't understand the struggle or what it took to get here. I can go home and eat this loaf of sourdough with my wife tonight and just be like, somebody loved this bread. Somebody loves what they do, and they made this for us. So thank you so much for enduring the struggle, enduring the hard work to bring this to life, because I can speak as someone who doesn't live in Ashland. I love making the trip out, and I can only imagine for people who do live in Ashland and get the opportunity to, maybe this is a daily ritual, a weekly ritual, like that has to just be so incredibly special. So thank you so much for putting in the hard work, and thank you for you talking about how busy you are, taking the time to come on this dopey podcast for an hour today. Thank you, Damie.
Oh, my pleasure.
Omaha, get out to Fariner if you haven't yet. This is a wonderful, wonderful bakery run by wonderful people. As always, thank you for eating.